Good morning, and welcome to your daily Farm and Home Show, brought to you by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. And now, here's your host. Good morning, and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Ellen Crocker. She's with the University of Kentucky as a forest health specialist there. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But, you know, we talk about so many forests and trees and how important they are to Kentucky. And so when a threat comes in, it's kind of alarming.
It is, and this is one that people should be alarmed about, the emerald ash borer. It's something that people may have been hearing about for a while. It's not new to our state. It was first detected in 2009 in the northern part of Kentucky, and since then it's been moving its way south, west and east from where it was first arrived. And the big problem with the emerald ash borer is that it will kill all of our native ash trees. We have lots of ash across the state. Depending on where you are, you might have a lot of ash as well. And it's a really popular tree that people plant in their yards, as well as being in the woods.
And you know, a lot of people have really mature ash trees, and they call, and they've heard about this threat, and they're like, how can I save my tree?
So the good news is there's some insecticide options that are available. If you've got a smaller ash tree, you can actually treat it yourself with a soil drench insecticide. If you have a bigger tree, it's worth calling an arborist and getting them to use a more technical approach to treating that tree with an insecticide to preserve that. If you've got a big tree in your yard like that, I definitely think it's worth it, although you will have to continue that every few years indefinitely because the emerald ash borer isn't going anywhere. It's going to stick around for a long time. However, for those landowners who have something like that, I would say that if you weigh kind of the cost of treating that tree versus losing a big, beautiful, mature tree, that's never going to grow back. Even if you do replace it, you're not going to get that big old tree, and the removal costs of those can actually be quite pricey if it's near your house. So I think it's a really great option for any landowners who've got a tree that they want to save before the emerald ash borer arrives. Treat that tree. Once the tree is already declining, the first things you're going to notice when the emerald ash borer does arrive is the canopy thinning, leaves not as full as they used to be in trees, some dead branches, dead twigs. You may eventually see some damage from the insect on the branches themselves, but by the time you're seeing those things are pretty far. So treat it before you start seeing that decline.
And we're lucky in Warren County that it hasn't been detected here yet, so we could still do some of those preventative type things.
Definitely. So there's still time. Of course, if you've got a woodland with a lot of trees, you might be kind of weighing your options and thinking about where you go from there. If you don't know if you have ash tree in your woodland, now's a good time to find out, because what you do next will really depend on how much ash you have. If you only have a few ash trees, we're lucky. We have a really high diversity of native trees. So chances are things are going to be okay. But if you have many ash trees, you could think about, is it worthwhile to do a preemptive harvest since those trees are going to die anyways? Do you have invasive species in the understory? Because when emerald ash borer comes in and takes out the ash, whatever's underneath is going to take off. And that could be native trees and native plants, or it could be invasive species.
So it's good to know that in advance. And we have the Kentucky Division of Forestry that can help and come out to farms and be able to tell what species are there.
Kentucky Division of Forestry, consulting foresters, and of course, cooperative extension agents.
Absolutely. Now, you know, you mentioned ash. Does this emerald ash borer affect any other species of tree?
So it mostly affects ash. It also affects white fringe tree, which is a smaller tree, more of a shrub. And white ash and green ash are really killed quickly by it. Blue ash is a little more resistant, but here you can kind of see what happens. So here's an ash right here, and we've chipped away some of the bark, so you can see underneath the beginnings of this kind of tunneling. And here's another piece of bark where you can really see it well. This tunneling here is how the emerald ash borer kills the tree. So the adult beetles lay their eggs in crevices in the bark. When those hatch, they tunnel just under the bark. They don't actually go in the wood. All the juicy stuff is right under the bark. Unfortunately, that's also what the tree needs. So they strangle the tree, can kill it pretty quickly, anywhere from a few months to a couple years. And really, you won't notice much other than decline in the canopy. You might, if you look really carefully after it's been there for a while, see some of these characteristic D-shaped exit holes. Other than that, it's hard to tell until things are pretty far along.
But it is important, if you feel like you have this, to contact the extension office, let us come out and verify, send it off, just so we know the movement of the emerald ash borer.
Yes, and speaking of movement, don't move firewood, because while the insect can fly itself, us moving it around in firewood that's contaminated is the best way to move it long distances. It'll get here eventually. We can't stop that, but we can prevent it from moving any faster than it already is.
All right, well, thanks, Ellen, for the information, and we appreciate you watching and hope you have a great day. If you have questions about today's topic, please call the Warren County Extension Office at the number on your screen. Thanks for watching and have a great day.